Alright, so Diplomonadida and Parabistala are unique in that they lack mitochondria. Modern forms of ancient eukaryotes, they are the modern forms of ancient eukaryotes. They're the first to branch off, but they are probably going to branch then before endosymbiosis gives rise to mitochondria, or, right, because they don't have any, or it could be that they lost their mitochondria because they were no longer needed. Now, that's most likely the theory, because they do show certain sequences that are homologous to mitochondrial sequences that you see. So the diplomonads are going to have many flagella, and they call them diplomonads because they have two nuclei. They don't have any mitochondria or plastids, and they include Giardia, which is going to be a type of protestin that is parasitic, and it actually causes diarrhea, and it causes a lot of diarrhea, and you get it from drinking contaminated water. Okay, the parabolicids are going to have these sort of like undulating membranes, which means that they kind of flow in a sort of like almost like those deep sea creatures that you see right here. Okay, these membranes right here to move. And these include the trichomonas, which here is actually the one that causes vaginal infections in women. Okay. Second on our list are going to be the Euglenozoa. All right, that's the picture I showed you earlier. They are completely and extremely complex. They are photosynthetic and heterotrophic flagellates, which means that they still have flagella to move. Okay, they include euglenoids and kinetoplastids, and I'm showing you a picture of kinetoplastids right now. The euglenoids have something called a paramylon and an anterior chamber, and they are mixotrophic, which means they are both heterotrophic and photosynthetic. Okay, the kinetoplastids are going to have this very large kinetoplast, which holds a lot of extranuclear DNA and only one large mitochondria. Some of them are pathogenic. The one that is big is going to be trypanosoma, which is actually African sleeping sickness. Okay, this is the one that is carried in the tsetse fly. Okay, sleeping sickness is common amongst people of Africa, and it actually it causes them to go into a coma-like state, and they just never wake up from it. All right, third are going to be your alveoletus. All right, these are flagellated, unicellular, and they have something called alveoli. Right, they're just membrane-bound cavities underneath their cell surface, and they include dinoflagellates, which is actually this picture right here. Okay, dinoflagellates are very common amongst the phytoplankton. They are part of the aquatic food chain. And they have these internal plates of cellulose that kind of form together here. They have flagella that create like this spinning motion, so they turn around like this. And they are common in the cause of red tide. So red tide is actually a bloom, this dinoflagellate bloom, where they increase their masses very, very, very rapidly, and it actually, the toxin that they produce from their pigment kills off a lot of fish, and it gives off like this red color from the pigment. And so red tide actually means that it's killing off a lot of fish, and they are bioluminescent, so they've been used in a lot of tagging things. The other alveoletas that we're going to talk about are apicomplexans. Okay, these are parasitic. They form something called a sporozoite, and at the apex, they have this organelle complex that is actually used to penetrate living tissue. So they have two cycles, all right, asexual and sexual with two hosts. here in the example that they give you is Plasmodium, which is actually the parasite that causes malaria. Now, malaria is actually carried, okay, by mosquitoes, all right? And when the mosquito bites you, it causes the parasite to enter into your bloodstream. And so mosquito is the first host, the human is the second host, okay? And then the last one of the alveoletas that we're going to talk about are called ciliates. Here. Okay. Now, ciliates are diverse. They use cilia, obviously, to move and to feed. They're usually solitary, and they live in fresh water. And they have two types of nuclei, all right? This is what's characteristic of them. They have a macronuclei, which is what contains, it's just a big, huge genome that contains all of the organism's cellular functions. And then they have several smaller micronuclei, okay? So that are going to be variants of genes that are used during conjugation for gene transfer and things like that. Okay, so you see them here. Right. These would be your micronuclei here being transferred over. Next, Shermanophylla. Okay, these are water molds. They have hair-like projections on their flagella that help them move, and they include four types that we're going to talk about. The Eumycota are going to be your water molds. Okay, they have sort of, they're the water mold, white rust, mildews. They have cellulose, and they have hyphae, but they are not related to fungi. Okay, though they look similar, it's just a product of convergent evolution. They have developed the same types of characteristics for the same types of environments, but they do function as decomposers, and they have a very, very complicated life cycle, which we're not going to go over because I don't really think that you need to know it, but it is in the book. It's figure 28.16 if you would like to look at it, okay? Okay. Basilorophyta are going to be what we call collectively diatoms. All right, these are usually yellowish brown. In this picture, they look kind of bluish. They have walls that are made out of silica, which gives them like this glassy look to them, and it almost looks like they fit together like a shoebox. All right, so one part overlaps the second part like a shoebox would. They store food as lamerin or oil, and they make up a lot of diatomaceous earth. All right, that's what diatomaceous earth is made out of. So when the dead diatoms will settle at the bottom, they will compact. They will compact and become diatomaceous earth. Okay, they're very pretty to look at. They're very diverse as well. Your Chrysophyta are going to be your golden algae. Okay, the reason why they have that golden look to them is by the pigment keratin and xanthophyll. They're biflagellated, which means they have two flagella. They live in freshwater and marine, and they compose a lot of plankton. Some are mixotrophic, but most of them are unicellular. Your Phaeophyta are going to be your brown algae, and these are the largest and most complex of all of the algal groups. They're more commonly called seaweeds. Okay, they are multicellular and marine. They look very, very similar to plants. All right, they have a specific structure to them. They call it, the whole thing is called a thallus. All right, that's what they call the whole seaweed body. You would have a holdfast here that actually sits on the bottom of the floor, and then you have the stipe, which is the stem part right here. And then you have the blades, which would become like the leaf. So it's very, very similar to plants, and it's probably one of the earliest ancestors of plants. So the most brown algae, they float at the surface, but they're actually rooted very deep into the bottom of the ocean. They can grow like 80 or 90 feet long. They're pretty big, right? A lot of these brown and golden algae are used in food products. Red algae is used in the soup and sushi industry. They're used. They extract some chemicals for ice cream, for deodorant, for makeup. Right, so it's used in a lot, and they actually like to use them in pudding, salad, iodine and minerals, things like that. All right, and they undergo something called the alteration of generations, which you guys have probably heard about in freshman biology. We're going to go over it very, very quickly here.